The Boston Red Garter was an immediate sensation, typically witnessing long lines of people just waiting to get in. Having found a successful way to turn hobby into profit, Schiavone quickly expanded his operation and by 1964 had opened Red Garter clubs in New York City and Cape Cod. In each club opening, the formula for success remained the same. They'd go in, paint the walls red, hire a good banjo band, and sit back and wait for the crowds to come. And come they did, by the thousands, enjoying the overall experience as much as the banjo music itself. You could say the clubs were wholesome, or whatever adjective you choose. What really made the clubs succeed was the mood you felt when you walked in. Your father's mustache was a complete entertainment package. The place, the waiters, the musicians, the songs, and the atmosphere. Everything fit together perfectly. If you put the band in a room without the other components, it wouldn't have been the same. While it was good time night every night on stage, there was trouble brewing between Schiavone and the West Coast owners of his Red Garter franchises. Ultimately he, in his words, ransomed the three clubs at an outrageous price and dropped the Red Garter name altogether. Being a phenomenon without an identity, in the summer of 1964, Schiavone sponsored a Name the Club contest. Ideally, he was searching for a name that reflected the spirit of his nightclubs as well as the time period they portrayed. Thousands of 1920 Spike suggestions were submitted. One said that since the club had lost its Red Garter, it should be named Saggy Stockings. However, out of all the clever entries, one name, a perfect name for both identity and marketing, emerged: Your Father's Mustache. Now independent of any franchise obligations, Schiavone was able to move forward and direct Your Father's Mustache in any manner he saw fit. Based on the initial success in Boston, New York, and Cape Cod, more clubs were quick to follow. Philadelphia, Chicago, St. Louis, New Orleans, Denver, 2 clubs on the Jersey Shore, and overseas operations in Blackpool, England, and Brussels, Belgium. At its peak, Your Father's Mustache had 13 locations, which employed over 2,400 people. Many of them were banjo players, a lot of college students who developed their chops on a Your Father's Mustache stage. They had to learn a lot of different songs in different keys and do it on the spot when they didn't have time to think. Your Father's Mustache proved to be a great training ground, and after a while this all became routine. Of course, even though he was the company president and a millionaire before he was 30, Joel Schiavone started the business to play the banjo. As a result, it was routine for him to travel around to various locations and play with the band. For Joel, playing the banjo is like therapy. Some people play golf, he plays the banjo. Schiavone would often play 2 to 3 nights per week during the 1960s and 70s, much to the dismay of the house band, who generally were forced to play longer sets with shorter breaks whenever the boss was in town. After being proclaimed the nightclub of the 1960s in a feature article in Time magazine, 1965 was a banner year for Your Father's Mustache. The clubs were at their peak, attracting over 900,000 guests in that year alone. In October 1965, Joel and the band were invited to perform at the White House for a gala program saluting the 89th Congress. Donning striped vests and blazing banjos, Your Father's Mustache shared the bill with many show business legends. Among those there that night, it is recalled that a White House staffer had the audacity to suggest that the band members might want to press their white trousers prior to posing for a photo with the president, a request which they declined, fearing it may damage their artistic integrity. Regardless of the wrinkled pants, President Lyndon B. Johnson, scheduled for surgery the following day, commented, "Never before has anyone had such a happy hospital send-off." Just over a month later, another Your Father's Mustache highlight came when the band, conveyed on a vintage fire engine, added a unique musical spark to the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. This nationally televised event exposed literally millions of people to the banjo and to the Your Father's Mustache brand of music and fun. Joel Schiavone was caught in a whirlwind of activity. In 1967, he and the band made an RCA Victor LP album which, for the first time in decades, brought the music of the 4-string banjo back to Billboard's popular music charts. Needless to say, by the late 1960s, Your Father's Mustache was a national entertainment phenomenon. In addition to the nightclubs, there were often 4 or 5 Your Father's Mustache show bands performing on the road at corporate and civic events around the country. On one such memorable road trip, they performed with Jackie Gleason in Miami. Although not apparent, there surely must be a good explanation as to why, when given the opportunity to pose with the great one, that Joel seems to have forgotten his shoes. Many national television appearances followed. Merv Griffin, Mike Douglas, and numerous chances to be part of a really big shoe on the Ed Sullivan program. A Sunday evening institution for decades, Sullivan loved the Your Father's Mustache Band, inviting them to appear on his show on 4 different occasions. By the early 1970s, American society and its entertainment preferences had begun to change dramatically. The result of this trend, the decline and the eventual closing of all of the Your Father's Mustache nightclubs. The last club to close was New Orleans, which was very sad, remembers Joel. I thought that club would be open forever, but a porter from a mental institution set it on fire. As everyone assumed we'd been managed by the mentally deranged, it did seem an appropriate finale. Since the demise of Your Father's Mustache, Joel Schiavone has often speculated why things changed so much so fast. Life for everyone became so complex, he commented. The war in Vietnam was raging. It was a time when patriotism, Yankee Doodle Dandy, and God Bless America seemed dead. We also had the Woodstock generation, a far distant match to Let Me Call You Sweetheart and Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Times and tastes changed and took with them the soul of Your Father's Mustache. But we had an incredible 13-year run in which we created a memorable experience for a large number of people. That certainly is an accomplishment to be proud of.